What's up, y'all? It's Lemar. That's LJ. What the hell are we talking about today?
We're talking about the top 10 running backs of all time.
Okay.
This list should be fairly uniform. It's not going to pretty much be different. It's going to be some irregularities in his list, because he thinks he knows what the top 10 running backs are. It is what it is.
All right. Well, we're gonna probably say that for last, but first we're gonna start with the NBA playoffs. All right. So Toronto, Cleveland, we all thought that this one was gonna be a really good series, and Toronto was gonna compete after what Cleveland did in the last series, barely beating Indiana, but they went to Toronto and won both games. I'm like, come on! Like, at some point, they gotta evolve into a better.
Yeah, they are. Toronto's just not a very good team. I believe I told you off the air that I thought that they weren't even. I thought that they pretty much reached their peak last season, but this season, they pretty much did really well. Especially around the middle of the season, around February. I thought that they were playing really good, but then they fell off. And playoff time, Toronto surprised, they fell off again.
Yeah, they're the same old Raptors. I'm like, come on, y'all got a deeper team. Y'all got just about everybody on that team can put some. I mean, they don't have dominant players, but they got a bunch of guys that play together that can all score. Like, they can all shoot, they can all drive. They play a solid deep. So I'm like, what's the problem? Come on, y'all saw what Indiana did to Cleveland last series. Y'all are better than Indiana. How are y'all not? How could y'all not at least win one game at home? I would understand if Cleveland won one, but y'all lost both games at home. Y'all gotta go back to Cleveland. This series is over.
Well, I think that Indy is a better team than Toronto. I don't think they're deeper, but they have a better star. I don't think you believe that Oladipo is a star in this league, a superstar in this league, but I believe he is. And I believe that his coming out party was against the Cavs in this series.
Well, he had a couple of good games, but he had at least 3 stinkers where he was 3 for 20 and he had some bad shooting games. So superstar players don't do that. He's a good player, and for what he is, he under the right coaching, under the right situation, yeah, he can be solid, but. To call him a star, a superstar, he can be an all-star. He's not going to be a perennial all-star. He's not going to be an all-star again every year. So that's a superstar. He's good. And Russell Westbrook making, his numbers were down under Russell Westbrook. Even a star player wouldn't have looked as bad as he did last year. You know what I mean? He would have been better because look, Paul George and Melo. They look bad, but they were still, Melo didn't look so good because he was a third option. And not only that, but he might be aging faster than everybody else. But overall, they still showed that they're good. Oladipo under Westbrook didn't look good at all. That's partly Westbrook's fault. But if he was a good player, he would have had a better season. If he was a star player, he would have been better than what he was. But
explain James Harden.
What about James Harden?
James Harden didn't look good under Westbrook. They put him on.
James Harden looked really good under Westbrook. He just didn't score 25 a game. And not only that, he was young, really young. That was only he was only in the league a few years. When he left and came into his own, he looked good. He just didn't get the touches. But he was.
And that's the thing. That's the same thing with Oladipo.
His shooting percentage was down too.
Oladipo didn't get the green light in Toronto, and they had a shitty team out there in Orlando. He didn't get the green light, and they didn't know what they had when they had him. Otherwise, they would have never traded him. And I always wanted to trade for him because I saw he was just more than a defensive player. He was more than just athletic, dunking defense. I thought that he could be what he is now. It takes some people a little bit of time to get it. That's why some people are called projects. That's why you can't give up on players so early. But Oladipo, to me, he's a superstar in the making. He had a shitty he had a shitty game or two, but I believe that this was his wake up. I believe that this was his breakout party. I believe that that him just like dominating those couple games and stealing games from Cleveland, that pretty much cemented him. He's going to be in Indiana for a while. They found themselves a star in him.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of players that's capable of doing. He's capable of taking over games. Like he can do that, but he doesn't do it on a consistent basis. He does it sometimes. He's a good player. He can play and he's capable of lighting it up. I just don't consider him a superstar because he's not gonna lead them really far. They're good and Cleveland's not that good, so it was like and they play really good defense. They're well coached. Nate McMillan's been a good coach for years, but as far star player, superstar, no. Like there's only a few superstar players. He's not one of them.
Well, that's why I believe that he can be. That's why I think this is his breakout party, where he's going to be. I think he's going to be a perennial all-star. Even though it took him a little bit longer to actually get it, he averaged 23 points a game. That last game, they pretty much hunkered down on him, and he only had 12 points and 12 rebounds. But this. But throughout the series, like that last game at home, he had triple double. He had 28, 13, and 10, and he had 30 points. You don't just do those numbers and throughout the entire season, he averaged 24 games, 23, 24 games. So I believe this is for real with him. So barring injuries, I see him doing about 25 points a game every season.
All right. Well, yeah. Again, I could see that too. I just don't know, like, because I don't consider, because by the way, Paul George, I don't consider him a superstar. Like he was a superstar. He was on the verge of it. I never thought he was a superstar. I think he's close to that because but even he's missing something in his game. You know what I mean?
Well, when his leg cracked open and all that superstar juices.
No. He's the same player, but he's just not that. I don't know. It's just something missing from his game because even he he didn't shoot well, and he had 3 games in the series that he was really good for Oklahoma, and then he had the other 3-4 more games where he looked like how Oladipo looked. It's just something missing out of his game that, because even when you have a bad game, like LeBron, what game was that? Game 1? That was considered a bad game for him, but LeBron had a triple double. But it wasn't. But he didn't play well. Like if you watch the game, he didn't play well. But he had a triple double, and he had 20-something
he
points.
is in the bar of who's going to be a superstar now. He's one of the best players.
Right, that's true.
So the comparison, that's not being fair.
All right, well, even somebody like a Kevin Durant or Steph Curry, even when they have bad games,
all these guys are MVPs.
They're superstars.
You know what I'm saying? But
they're superstars.
But the thing is, all these guys are MVPs. Everybody's not going to be MVP. You know what I'm saying? There are guys who are superstars who are not MVPs. Like Patrick Ewing was a superstar, but he was never MVP.
Okay, no, but what I'm saying is, all right, so let's name a non. Well, see, but the thing is, everybody's winning MVPs. Like James Harden's gonna win one this year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. My bar for superstar is a little bit, maybe a little bit lower than yours, because you only consider guys who are in the running for MVP.
This just happened to be what it is.
You know what I'm saying? Like you would consider. What's his face? Anthony Davis an MVP.
I don't consider him a superstar.
Yeah, because he's gonna be MVP one day. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a little bit for me. A superstar is somebody who's always a perennial all-star. You know what I'm saying? Somebody who can make your all-star team every year. Your bar is a little bit higher than mine. So if you want to talk someone who's an MVP candidate, then yeah, I'm not going to include Oladipo, but that's just that's just a way I consider it. I would say I'm thinking about someone I would consider a superstar that you probably wouldn't. Oh, Kristaps Porzingis.
He's not a superstar yet. He can be a superstar. He's on the verge of being a superstar. Like that's what you like. I consider him on the verge of being a superstar now, and he's really young, and he's still got a high ceiling. Oladipo has been in the league how many years? Like at least 5 now.
Yeah,
and he's just having a 20-point a game season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he just broke out.
So,
that's the thing. That's why I said this is a breakout season.
But it's hard. But it's hard for me to say that because how many superstars took this long to be recognized as a superstar? Like usually they show that Donovan Mitchell's going to be a superstar. You know what I mean?
Well, some people develop earlier than others. You know.
Yeah, but how many of them turn out to be superstars that develop late like that?
Doesn't matter to me. To me, it doesn't matter. You know, whether it takes you 4 years,
But I'm saying,
whether
who
it
can
takes
you
you 1
name
year.
that happened to?
Oladipo.
Outside of Oladipo, what I'm saying is, all right, you're saying he's going to be the first.
But now you're moving the goalposts.
I'm not.
Yes,
All
you
I'm
are.
saying is,
You're moving the goalposts. You're saying like, oh, it took him this long, so he can't be. Like, no, that's
I'm
not
not
how
saying
I
he can't be. I'm not saying. I'm saying it's very unlikely. I'm saying it's highly unlikely.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just move the goalposts and say, okay, okay.
I'm saying it's highly unlikely.
No. You're saying, okay.
I'm telling you what I'm saying.
No. This is how I'm putting it. Like, you're saying that okay, this guy he never did this before, but he never really got an opportunity before. You know, he on a bunch of bad teams with a bunch of bad coaches who didn't know exactly what they had when they had him. You know, and plus he was on a team with Russell Westbrook, and you know they had another player on that team who did the exact same thing, but was younger and was happened to be moved away from Russell Westbrook, and now is thriving. The same thing happened with this guy and another guy. And everybody who's around Russell Westbrook, besides KD, goes away from him and does better.
KD, you can put KD in that category too.
Okay. Well, KD was.
But his percent, he's a more efficient player. He may not, his points per game may not be up. His field goal percentage is way up.
Well, we've already established that KD was already.
You can throw him in that category.
You can throw him in that category too, but I don't think it would be fair to Russell Westbrook.
No. He's a more efficient player. Now that Westbrook is not his point guard. It's that simple.
Yeah. All right. Well, I wouldn't be unfair to him because he was already a superstar before that, and he was on the team before Russell Westbrook too.
The point is he got better. That's the point. He was already a superstar, but he got better.
Well, he's not MVP. He's not. But if you put KD on this team, is he the MVP of this team, or is he the best player?
He's the best player on the team. I think Steph Curry might be more valuable. He's the best player though. He's the best. He's the player that nobody can guard. You could make that argument for Curry also. It's very debatable, but I think Kevin Durant's the second best player in the NBA next to LeBron James. And I think Steph Curry might be right after him, and then maybe Anthony Davis or something like that. But I think it's LeBron, Durant, Steph Curry. Those are the top 3 players in the NBA to me.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue about that. You know, that's you can also move Anthony Davis above Steph Curry at this point because because Steph Curry's not remaining healthy.
Yeah, but also it's hard for me to do that because Anthony Davis isn't a playoff. He's not always in the playoffs. This is only his second time being in the playoffs. This is the first time winning a playoff game, let alone a series.
He puts up his number. The thing is, the NBA is pretty much driven by little men now. You know, it's not a big man's league.
Right.
So he puts up his numbers. He puts up ridiculous numbers. So you can't blame him for his team not winning when he's putting them in a position to win. But you know, when you're dependent upon the guards so much in this league, it's hard for him to win.
Yeah.
It's hard for any big man to win nowadays. You know, like I'm not sure whether big men hold the same value as they used to.
I think it's already starting to come back around. Like you're right, but I think it's already starting to come back to slightly where the big men are starting to be more valuable again. Like, I mean, especially when you see Anthony Davis doing what he did. You see a guy like Porzingis he's really good,
you have to be better. You kind of have to be a stretch big.
Right.
In order to do that, there's no room for guys who can't shoot anymore.
Right.
That's why, the last great big man was probably Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
He got to a championship and couldn't do shit in the championship.
Right.
But because, he's offensively challenged.
Mm-hmm.
And,
he's the last big man to lead the team to the finals. You're right.
Yeah, so I'm about to say the last big man to win a championship would probably be Andrew Bynum.
Oh yeah.
But he
didn't lead that team.
He didn't lead that team. That wasn't his team. That was Kobe's team. And he played along.
And him and Gasol would go back and forth for who was the second.
Yeah, when I say big man, I'm talking about centers, not power forward, not stretch forwards,
mm-hmm.
because you got Dirk Nowitzki's and you got Kevin Durant, Kevin Garnett's. I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about centers who played in the box.
Traditional center, right?
Traditional center who play in the box, who do not shoot threes. But DeMarcus Cousins, he does it.
Right. And he can do both. He's a traditional center that just developed an outside shot.
Yeah, he can actually do both. I would actually. His temperament is just.
But he was doing good with New Orleans, and before he got hurt. Just imagine how good they would be if he was still healthy.
Yeah, just imagine. To be perfectly honest with you,
they would be really giving Golden State a run for their money. I think they won one. I think they're only going to win one. But if Cousins was there, I think they could at least push it 6, possibly 7 if Cousins was there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And it's just hard when you have two big men. And I want to say that because, Houston, back when they had Hakeem Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson, they were dominating the league.
Yeah.
But, they ran into those buzzsaws out there with the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, Hakeem would have won more than one and 2 championships.
And what's funny is I didn't think the Anthony Davis DeMarcus Cousins thing would work at all. I did because of the way it's not a big man's league anymore. And plus, I know how DeMarcus Cousins can be. I just didn't think it would work, but they were making it work and they were looking good. Now they didn't really miss a step without him, but I think in the playoffs he would have been big for them. And I just hope he can come back and play the same after Achilles injury. I wanted to talk about the Houston series. Utah, when we were supposed to originally do this podcast, Houston had lost at home to Utah, and I was going to rip them for that because I'm like, here we go again. Same old D'Antoni, same old James Harden, same old Chris Paul. But last night, when I turned the game off, they was up by 40. I was like, all right, they're back on track.
D'Antoni with those guards, I'm guessing he may win a championship one of these years. But his weakness has always been defense and actually playing decent defense. And I thought that it was a match made in heaven when he went to Houston and had James Harden. I was like, these guys are the same type of guy.
Right. Yeah.
He's much more of a D'Antoni guy than Steve Nash ever was.
Right. Yeah, he's even more fit for that role.
Steve Nash would shoot when he was wide open.
Right.
But
he was semi-aggressive. He knew that he needed to score sometime. But James Harden is a pure scorer who can see the floor really well. So, he's one of the better. And I never got the. Even before D'Antoni got there, people were saying that he was a ball hog and he was selfish. I never saw that.
No,
I never saw that.
I don't see that.
There's a lot of things I criticize him for, but I never thought that.
I never thought that about James Harden. He's not a ball hog. Even though we talk about assists, not being a bar for a ball hog, but there's plenty of guys who average assists and are ball hogs. Right. Russell Westbrook is the number one.
Right.
He's a ball hog.
Marbury.
Yeah. Him and Marbury are almost the same player. If Marbury was Russell Westbrook's age, he'd be doing the same thing.
Right. and But yeah, Harden, I never looked at him that way. And I was wondering how him and Chris Paul would work together, but that works really well. Chris Paul, they both average like 9 assists.
Chris Paul, actually, I was going to look that up. His assists went down.
Okay.
I really wanted them to see what would happen if he averaged.
They both averaged that.
Like 9 assists a game, but it went down to 8. He averaged 18 and 8.
Okay.
You know, his career is 18 and almost 10.
Right.
So
like Steve Nash, right?
Yeah, so
close to Steve Nash, except he plays defense.
Yeah, if they would have had these guys like a couple of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
they would have, especially when Chris Paul was younger. You know, Chris Paul's 32 at this point.
Yeah, I hope that they can compete with.
They're not going to be able to compete with Golden State, and that's going to be a shame.
You think Golden State gonna make it easy?
Golden State, I don't think it's going to make it easy, but I think they're going to win in 5, and that's going to be sad.
I hope not. I hope that they can at least compete. I mean, I really want them to beat them, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
And Philly, I'm a little surprised that they haven't played at home yet. They're down 2-0.
1 point.
I really.
1 point.
1 point what? That's how much they lost with?
No.
Oh.
Ben Simmons. 1
okay.
point. He only had 1 point.
Oh yes, right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what that was. We gotta remember. We forget that he's still a rookie, and we just expect this much from him. And even as a rookie, he should only score 1 point.
That's not called. No, you know what I'm saying. Your team is depending on you.
Yeah. But him and Donovan Mitchell both had terrible games in the last game. So, but they're rookies. You know what I mean? Like that they're not going to be 100% consistent. They're gonna have stinkers like this as a rookie. They just haven't had one yet. So it's like we expect the most from them, but we got to remember that they are rookies and they're still learning. And they're in teams. Brad Stevens can make you look bad. You know what I mean? Brad Stevens is, outside of Popovich, is the best coach in the NBA. So he can make you look bad. Yeah. And even with Boston having Kyrie and Hayward out, like they're about to be in the conference finals. And they're not gonna be able to be like if it looks like Cleveland is on track. I don't know if it's because it's Toronto or it's because they're just starting to find themselves now. But I don't see them beating Cleveland, but I could see them pushing that series because Brad Stevens is just a great coach, and Terry Rozier, I don't think that's a fluke what he's doing. Like I think he's just really good. Like if they knew that this guy was this good, they probably would have never got Kyrie Irving.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, like I believe that's coaching. I think for Terry, I think that anybody will. I'm not going to say anybody. That's a wrong choice of words. But Terry Rozier, he's a good player. I think he's playing out of his mind now. But
if you put him on another team, he would just be a regular backup point guard.
That's what he would be.
Yeah, because see, that's Brad Stevens. Like and somebody made
that's
this
a Dellavedova effect.
Somebody made this point. Like he's like Bill Belichick. Like he makes everybody good. Like Boston might have the 2 best coaches in basketball and football. You know what I mean? Like he makes anybody good. Belichick makes anybody good. Like he
makes anybody.
He puts them in a position
to
that's
plays.
them comfortable and makes them based on how they play, and then they flourish. I'm like, man, and Boston got both of those guys. How did that happen? Like why can't we luck up like that?
When he says we, the royal we, he means
the Knicks.
Speaking of the Knicks,
right?
let's move on to the next subject. We have David Fitzdale. Take that for data.
Take that for data. The tone low. But he wasn't my first choice. He was about my 3rd choice. I wanted Budenholzer from Atlanta. I hope I said that right. Or I wanted Mark Jackson was my 2nd choice.
You didn't say that right either.
but Fizdale would have been my 3rd option. After that, I didn't really want any of those other guys. But he was like, I'm trying to think. Was there? It might have been one more person on that list.
David Black.
That I won? Or you wanted David
No,
Blatt?
no. I didn't want David Blatt.
I didn't want him.
Yeah, I didn't want David Blatt either, but I heard that he
the
was.
list was like 10 coaches long.
Yeah, the list was 10 coaches long, but
It was Kenny Smith. There was Mike Woodson again. They evidently re-interviewed Jeff Hornacek. Stackhouse. There was
Jason
a lot.
Kidd?
Well, did they interview him?
I'm not sure.
I think his name came up, but I don't think he was ever interviewed. But they did a thorough search, which I was like, that's good. But I'm like, you start doing, interviewing too many people, then you start forgetting who was good and who wasn't. But they got Fizdale. I'm okay with that. And I know he's from the Pat Riley tree, so that makes me feel good because I didn't know that. I know they said he was assistant under Eric Spoelstra. So I'm like, and I know that LeBron and Wade really liked him.
You mean he's under the Spoelstra tree?
Well, Pat Riley's there, and Spoelstra learned from Riley, so I still consider that under the same tree. But
the reasons there's a few reasons why I heard they chose Fizdale. Number one, they asked every candidate if they could work with Frank Ntilikina. And so they said, like, what can you do to develop him? And I guess Fizdale had the right answers, and also he checked another box. LeBron likes him.
Right. that was. I think that was the main.
That's a really big box.
I think that was the main reason, right? So just imagine if we would have drafted Dennis Smith Jr. and hired David Fizdale, because LeBron likes both of them. We might have a shot.
If we would have drafted Donovan Mitchell and had David Fizdale, then LeBron would definitely come. But it's kind of like, all right, Phil Jackson made this choice and was fired 2 days later.
Yeah.
I've got high hopes for Ntilikina. I hope that he plays better than he did his rookie season. He didn't have a bad rookie season. It's a rookie season. He's a rookie. We can't keep expecting these guys to make big splashes in the league. Some guys are projects.
Right.
But the thing is about the Knicks, Knicks fans aren't very patient.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
New York fans aren't patient.
Well, Mets fans are patient.
They're not patient either. They just have no choice but to sit there and lose.
Jets fans are. Giants fans are very patient. I'm a Giant fan. We gave what's his face 2 good seasons to do his thing. And
who's this? You gotta say somebody's name.
The coach. I forgot the coach's name.
The guy they just fired.
The guy we just fired. I forgot.
I'm not a Giants fan, so I don't remember.
Yeah, I forgot his name already. So the guy, we gave him opportunities, and he fell flat every single time.
3 years or 2 years?
2 years.
Okay.
But he was our offensive coordinator.
Okay.
On the Tom Coughlin. We gave Tom Coughlin a lot of rope.
Yeah.
So when you win 2 Super Bowls, you kind of get a lot of rope.
You deserve it. You earned it. You earned a lot of rope. Like that's why they don't want to send Eli away. Like they probably
we should have. The thing is, Eli is our age, so he's almost ready to be put out the.
And we're not playing football no more.
He needs.
We're done playing football, right? So should he? Nah.
People think he still has a little bit more in his tank, so there's a little bit more sugar in his tank. So we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah, if I mean, I don't doubt that. I just felt like if they had a chance to get a quarterback where they should have got it, but I don't doubt that if they put an offensive line around him, they got a running game. They got a running back. We'll see if he's the real deal like he's supposed to be. But if they get a good offensive line, they got a running game. They already got weapons. Well, then I think he could be. I mean, I don't think he's totally done either. I think. Matter of fact,
he didn't look done last year, but
the rest of the team was done.
Yeah. That's the thing. He didn't look done last year, but he's not a West Coast quarterback, and he put him in that West Coast system. So, like he's not a high efficiency quarterback. He's never been a high efficiency quarterback. If you want to dink and dunk with him, he's not going to win a game with you. Yeah. You're not going to win a Super Bowl doing that. He likes to air the ball out, and he's he's more of and he can't air the ball out like his brother did, even though he has a bigger arm than his brother did, and he's not going to be as efficient as a Tom Brady. Yeah. So you can't throw the ball 40 times a game because he'll give you 6 interceptions.
Speaking of his brother, you know his ball wasn't a spiral. He never threw spirals. He threw ugly football. No, he was just smart and he knew what to do. But he did not have a beautiful arm.
That's the thing about Peyton. He never had a lot of arm strength. Right. But he was very efficient. Right. He
knew how to anticipate. He was real smart. But see, that's the thing. Like, but part of the problem why I think that he wasn't as good in the playoffs is because you got to have improvisation in your head. I don't think he's an improvisation guy. He's a timing guy. So if things don't work, if things aren't working out as perfect, he can't run. You know what I mean? And
he doesn't like throwing the ball away.
And the pocket starts getting muddy, and he gets the happy feet.
He doesn't. Peyton never really threw the ball away.
Right.
You know, like he would try to gun it in there. He wasn't. I would say he wasn't like as loosey goosey with the ball as his brother is. Right. His brother's like Brett Favre. He'll gun it in there no matter what. That window's closed. It's going in there.
Yeah. How did we get from talking about David Fisdale to all the way to Peyton Manning?
All right. So this brings us to our next subject.
So yeah, the Browns. This is kind of a weird story, which I just want to hear what your thought on this, because I really don't know what to make of it. The Browns GM, the new GM, asked the volleyball coach that from Josh Rosen's school. They asked him about him. He was like, "Well, ask his girlfriend. She right over there. She's on the volleyball team." And then the GM was like, "That's all I need to know." I'm like,
"What? What was that about?"
I don't know. Like they're saying that. By the coach saying that to the GM, they didn't want to be bothered with Rosen. What? Now the theory is I guess they figure since that coach had nothing good to say about Rosen, he passed it off. He passed it off to just like ask his girlfriend. She's over there. Like he kind of like passed it off. Instead of just saying, like, I don't know much about him. He's just, like, asking. So that's the theory. But I'm like, that's not enough for me to not draft a guy. Like, now, if you don't think he's the guy, that's fine. But that's not going to be
I'm confused.
Everybody is. Like, like if I heard, like if I had the scoop on this story, I probably wouldn't even release the story because I wouldn't even know what to make of it. I would have just left it alone. Like, what? And I just walked away, like, balled up my paper, like, all right. I don't understand it. Like,
and that's why the Cleveland Browns are the way they are. That's why they're one of the worst run franchises in sports. Now, saying that, I know we covered the NFL draft, and I was happy with their draft pick because we got to get Saquon Barkley, but I was happy with their draft pick. I think that if they wanted that guy, they got him. If there was a bad pick, then it's a bad pick. But they had to pick a quarterback. They had to. There was no other choice, even though
at least they did that, right? At least they didn't draft like an offensive lineman.
Like that. They needed a quarterback. They have a guy now that he doesn't have to start immediately. They got Tyrod Taylor. What's his name? Tyrod Taylor, right? Tyrod Taylor. Yeah, they got Tyrod Taylor who can start. This guy can learn. Tyrod Taylor is still young, so he can start for the next 2 seasons. The guy can just learn from him. He doesn't have to put him out there.
Yeah, I doubt he'll start for 2 seasons, but he'll definitely probably start the season as a starter. And if they start playing like the Browns play, I think by midway through the season, they'll probably go ahead and put in a rookie. But
I think that he needs to sit for an entire year.
I think so too, but. We're talking about the Browns. The Browns are going to just throw him in there. As soon as the fans start chanting for him, Browns are going to, all right, let's just throw him in there. That's the Browns.
And you don't really need to do that. Just have him go out there. And, the coach, he's playing for his career, so,
he's already gone. They don't. The only way they can save his season is if somehow they made the playoffs. I think he's going after
that's not going to happen. If I were him, I'd have fun with it. Like this is your last coaching job.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're a black coach, which means that you're probably not going to get hired anywhere else. As a head coach in the NFL, you're probably going to be like a defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator.
Yeah, he'll have a job, just probably not
he'll
as
have
head
a job, or he'll be on Alabama staff, carrying Saban's water. That's pretty much it. After that, you're done. So have fun with this season. Just know that this is your last season coaching.
Yeah.
Don't be stressed out about it. Just know. Like,
and honestly, I'm glad that they kept him for one more season, but they probably should have just let him go. Just bring in a new guy. You know what I mean? Because if you're gonna fire him, that's not good for the development of.
It's not, but that is Cleveland. When you get a number one pick and you get a rookie quarterback, like
you wanna pair him up with a guy you expect to be there at least for the next few years, and then if it doesn't work out, then you fire him. But not a guy who's already kind of a lame duck coach. You're not gonna keep him. I'll be so like I said, unless they make the playoffs or just barely miss the playoffs, like just really compete. They're not gonna bring him back. So they should have probably just said, all right, you know what I mean, part ways with him and stuff. I think anytime you gotta, unless you already got like a really good coach on your roster, you should always, if you're gonna bring in a new quarterback like that, you should bring in a new offensive minded. I mean, he's an offensive coach, but you should bring in a new offensive minded coach that you want to. You sign him for a deal and connect them at the hip for the next 3 or 4 years. You know what I mean? So I mean, like I said,
that's how everyone does it. I understand them not changing coaches last year because they got Myles Garrett in the draft #1 overall, and they got #1 overall this year. They stunk. You got to fire the quarterback, fire the coach, and you got to move on. They weren't even looking to move on, and that makes zero sense to me. When you get a new quarterback, you got to get everybody needs to be new.
Right.
Work with that quarterback. You got somebody, sit them for a year, have a long-term plan. But what they did? They hired the analytics person from baseball. I forgot.
Oh yeah. I heard about that. I was like, a baseball guy. Like, I don't understand that.
And guess what? Analytics didn't fucking work. It don't work in football.
Yeah. Well, I think analytics works to a degree in all sports, but you just can't depend on it. Like, for instance, Houston, Daryl Morey, he goes by, in basketball, he goes by analytics or whatever. And that's not a problem. They're a winning team or whatever. But at some point, it's like, all right, you got to realize that D'Antoni's not going to make adjustments on the fly. So far, and you can't, and analytics doesn't tell you about how a team meshes. It tells you about how good a team shoots threes or how good a team, like, when personalities get involved, that's when analytics don't matter. You know what I mean? So it's like, you gotta keep that in mind. I mean, and again, the Rockets are a really good team right now, #1 team in the league record-wise, but I just don't see D'Antoni as being the guy. At some point, it's like, all right, we gotta look at who's a guy who's gonna make the right adjustments, but can still make this team just as effective. You know what I mean? But because I don't think it's D'Antoni.
Yeah, I don't think it's D'Antoni either. He's offensive minded coach, but we already spoke about that guy.
Yeah. All right, so moving on, we're gonna talk about Brady. He had an interview with Jim Gray last week, and he asked. First of all, I didn't know Jim Gray was still doing stuff. I haven't seen Jim Gray in a long time.
He still does on NBC.
Yeah. And he asked Brady if he felt appreciated by Bill Belichick and by the organization. He was like, I plead the fifth. So basically that means, hell no, I ain't. So now it's like, and then he starts, trying to clean it up, nice and saying, nobody totally feels appreciated. I'm like, come on, Brady. We know what you're trying to say. Either say what you're gonna say or keep pleading the fifth. But like we are, like, I know we already kind of talked about this already, but it's like, why not just why not just either? I mean, we already know. I mean, and what is he gonna do to you now? We know that you and the owner's tight. We know that they got rid of your backup, and we already know that you purposely didn't go to OTAs. You usually go to OTAs. They say he hasn't always done it, but he usually goes. So we know you're trying to make a statement. So just make your statement. Don't half-ass it. You have more leverage right now because they need you more than they ever need you without Garoppolo there. So they have Brian Hoyer as the backup. They don't have a guy that's like that can step in and win the games. You know what I mean? They could probably, the Patriots could probably still win 10 games with Brian Hoyer, but they're not winning no Super Bowl. So, and we know that's what it's all about now at this point. You know what I mean? Belichick and Brady, they're at the end. They're just trying to win Super Bowls. So, just use your leverage now.
I think Bill Belichick hates Tom Brady at this moment.
Probably.
He doesn't seem like he seems like a no bullshit guy. And right now, Tom Brady's just like trolling him. Mm-hmm. He's from he can take stuff from the outside, but when you got stuff from the inside, mess up his team and his legacy, his organization. I think that that pisses him off more than anything.
Yeah,
sure. Somebody can talk shit about him. You can have Bill Parcells talk shit about him. You can have any other player talk shit. That doesn't bother him.
No,
but I would believe this would bother him.
Absolutely.
He hasn't made any statements. He hasn't said anything. He usually doesn't.
He never will.
He usually doesn't. That's not the type of person he is. Right. That's not the type of coach he's ever been. Mm. But whenever they finish together, when they're done within the next, probably in a year or two, after that, the books are gonna start coming out. Interviews are gonna start coming out. Little tidbits are gonna start floating around. We don't know where this came from.
I can't wait.
Where'd that come from? Tom Brady. Tom Brady kissed a guy in the locker room once. What happened? Where'd that come from?
I can't wait for that. Because I was wondering now, a lot of players that leave them, they still don't talk. So I'm like, all right, when y'all gonna start letting us know what goes on? Did he make y'all sign a contract?
You want to know why? Because Bill Belichick's still there. Mm. Once he leaves there, once he goes somewhere else, once he's retired, you're gonna start hearing a little bit of things. But you never really hear anything about your team, 49ers. When Bill Walsh, you never hear anything about. Bill Walsh is dead, so. Right. But Cowboys, please. You know how many stories you hear about my team? You out of your mind? My team? And Bill Belichick was on that team. But we had Lawrence Taylor who has his
LT stories, right?
Yeah, right. but LT, he laughs at those stories. He thinks it's funny.
Right.
You're gonna hear those stories. Plus, Bill Parcells, he's polarizing too. But Bill Belichick, he learned to do the opposite and being in that and having to coach LT. Mm-hmm. If you talk to, you've seen that show with the two Bills.
I didn't. I started watching it and I kept watching bits and pieces. And I never got to finish it. And then when I checked my DVR, it was gone. Oh wow! That's PlayStation View for you. You don't know how long it's gonna be up there. It just goes away.
Well, I saw it, and Bill Belichick. The one thing is over his Super Bowls. The one thing he actually loves was his defense when he was a defensive coach of the Giants. That's one thing that he talks about all the time. Mm-hmm. He didn't I'm not saying he doesn't care about the Super Bowls, but
that's the thing he's most proud of.
But he's most proud of that defense. So and he feels kind of bad that he never got even talked to be the coach of the Giants. Mm. But like I said, the owners are still there. Mm. Well, no, they're not, because they're both dead. Now their sons took over. I apologize. That's the wrong thing. Maybe he rubbed people the wrong way. That's why he didn't coach. But he's
definitely a smug dude.
He's smug. He went to Jets. Didn't like it there.
And he left before he even played the game, right? Coached the game, right? He left before he even Didn't he resign a week or two later or something like that?
Yeah, he wrote it on a napkin. He said, "I resign as NYJHC" or something like that.
Wow, that's disrespectful.
Yeah, that's disrespectful. He just didn't respect that organization. Cleveland, they gave him a shot. He gave him a shot, and now he hates him completely, totally, forever.
Yeah, he tries to. I think
he holds grudges, and he holds them forever.
And you know what's funny? I wonder if they drafted Mayfield because it was a rumor that the Patriots liked him.
Yeah, I actually heard that they wanted to move up to get him in our spot.
I bet you they put that out there to make the Browns draft him. Because you know the Browns have low self-esteem. So they was like, well, if he likes him, he must be the best quarterback.
So I guess that's Bill Belichick trolling and shit.
Yeah. One day, I hope that story comes out.
I hope all these little stories come out.
That's crazy. But I bet that's what happened. All right, moving on. I guess now it's time for our top 10 running backs.
All right. Well, we'll start at 10, and you do yours first.
Okay, I'll go first. All right. I'm not gonna bore y'all too much with why I think this and that, because it's hard to say. Well, this person did this. I mean, if something comes to mind, I'll do that. But I'm not gonna sit here and just be like, I like this person because like it's a school report.
Why not?
I mean, I've been doing it a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not gonna do it at all, but I'm just saying some people are just not gonna have anything to say about. You just know how great they are, so you'll know why they're on the list.
Well, you know, I'll ask you questions about if I feel
right. Yeah, that's fine too. I mean, I don't want to just be like, don't ask me nothing. Nah, ask me whatever. But and by the way, this is the top 10 running backs of our time, not of all time. Of all time, there's gonna so don't be mad when Walter Payton's not in there because I didn't see Walter Payton play.
Me neither. I never saw Walter Payton
play. Walter Payton, I know would be up there. Jim Brown would be up there, but
Jim Brown retired 20 years. Probably almost 30 before I was born.
Right, these guys that are considered the greatest, Jim Brown, Eric Dickerson, Walter Payton, we didn't see them, so they're not going to be on this list. So don't give us hate mail for that. Give us hate mail for other things, but not for that.
No, you can give me hate mail. I accept all hate mail.
All right, so number 10, I got Terrell Davis from Denver. Super Bowl running back. He was really good. Didn't he have a 2,000-yard season also?
Yeah, he had one 2,000-yard season.
Yeah, he was the man. Jerome Bettis, longevity, Pittsburgh Steeler. And I liked him ever since he was a rookie with the Reds. He was the man for a long time. And, So, next one, Thurman Thomas. I really Thurman Thomas has kind of been forgotten by people in history. People don't really talk about him or Jim Kelly for that matter. They talk about the Bills as a whole because they lost 4 Super Bowls. But Thurman Thomas was a beast. Right. Thurman Thomas was a beast, and it's just a shame that he had that one bad Super Bowl where he fumbled the ball like twice, 2 or 3 times. That was bad. But outside of that, he was great. Curtis Martin is my next one. That's number 10, 9, 8, 7. Curtis Martin is number 7. And he wasn't as dynamic as anybody else on this list. But he was consistent. He got the job done. And he was always one of my personal favorites ever since he was with the Patriots. And then when he went to the Jets, I always liked Curtis Martin. He's just consistent, no nonsense, get the yards running back. Number 6. And this is where it's going to start getting really elite guys. Marcus Allen. Marcus Allen was another dude. Just when he was with Kansas City and he was with Oakland, he was just a beast. And he, even though he had another great running back next to him in Oakland or LA where they was playing at the time, he was still just as good. He was really good. LaDainian Tomlinson is my number 5. I should have numbered these. Yeah. Number 5 is LaDainian Tomlinson, a great all-around back. And by the way, he reminds me, I had my original draft of this. I had Eric Metcalf up there, but he just started getting pushed out as I started thinking.
I forgot all about
him. As I started pushing, putting more names on there, he started getting pushed lower to the bottom. But he could have easily been on this list, by the way. And LaDainian Thompson reminds me of him because LaDainian Thompson was a great all-around back. Out of the backfield, could catch whatever. He was all around just a solid which leads me to my next one, who I think was just a little bit better than him, Marshall Faulk. Marshall Faulk is definitely one of my favorites of all time. Like another great all-around back who just got it done. Like like he was probably the best receiving running back I've ever seen. Like like he could have had a career as a wide receiver. That's how good he was at, at coming out of the backfield catching the ball. Number 3, Bo Jackson. Very short career, but completely unstoppable. Like if his career was longer, if his career was longer, he'd be number 1 on this list. He'd be the all-time. I think he would be the all-time back. But he loses points just because his career was short. Not his fault, but it is what it is. He was unstoppable. Number 2, which is probably number 1 to some other people, but he's number 2 on my list, is Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith was the toughest dude on this list. He was just all out tough. Like him and Bo Jackson is probably the 2 toughest. Oh, I can't even say that because Jerome Bettis was pretty damn tough. So, but I'll give him the edge. Though. I think he was just tougher. I think just like as tough as Jerome Bettis was, I give Emmitt Smith. And mind you, I hate the Cowboys, so it's not easy for me to say that. But he was tough. He had a lot of heart. He played games injured. He just stuck it out. He was just, on top of the fact that he was a champion, like he was just a true champion. And my number 1, Barry Sanders. If y'all didn't already know, Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders could make anybody look foolish. He ended. He made people look so silly on the field. Now he wasn't the catcher out of the backfield like somebody like Tomlinson and Favre. And he wasn't the tough guy like Emmitt Smith and Bettis, but he just straight made you look foolish. He could like, and they would have to load up the box on this guy. He would have games where he would lose like 4 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards, 8 yards, and then next thing you know, he would just break one for 60 yards because you just couldn't touch him, and he just made people look so dumb. And he's my all-time favorite running back. By far, that's just easy for me. All right, you up?
All right, my number 10 is Bo Jackson. He's number 10 because he didn't play that long. I can't give you a lot of points when you only had 2 good seasons. That's fair. So as far as athletes go, I would put him in the top 5 because he played 2 sports. He played them well. Mm-hmm. But he only had 2 good seasons, so I had to put him at 10. But those 2 good seasons were really good, so that's the reason why he even broke my top 10. Otherwise, he'd be down this list, past Edgerrin James,
Oh wow,
who's number 11 on my list. Number 9 would be I'm sorry, Jerome Bettis. Jerome Bettis is number 9. He didn't wow you with a bunch of numbers. But he was consistent. He was tough. He got 1,000 yards at least 10 times in his career. Even when he was hurt, he was still playing, get 1,000 yards. Mm-hmm. So he was consistent, and that's why I liked about him. Number 8, Tiki fucking Barber.
Wow.
Because Tiki Barber played really well. He was consistent, just like Jerome Bettis was.
Tiki Barber was good. Barber was really
good. He was consistent, just like Jerome Bettis was. He would get 1,000 yards a season. And then when he got older, he played even better. Where he was leading the league in rushing. He did it for 3 seasons. Other than Sean Alexander winning that year in rushing, he would have led the league in rushing, and he had almost 1,000 yards catching too. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Giant fan, but because dude really played really well and played better later on in life. Even though he played 10 seasons. Because he did a running back thing, going to play 10 seasons and retire, so just like Jim Brown. Okay, my number 7 is going to be Priest Holmes. Okay. Now, Priest Holmes, he was every down back, and plus he was really good catching that ball out the backfield. So I love Priest Holmes. Even though he beat the shit out of my team in the Super Bowl, I loved the way he played. You know what I'm saying? Like he was
he was still with Baltimore then, huh?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So he was just great. So I will put him definitely in my top 10. Let's see. Number 6 is Adrian Peterson. He's the last every down back I've seen. in that 2,000-yard season was great. As far as the way he came back from ACL tear and averaged and got 2,000 yards, am I casting any aspersions? Am I making any type of aspersions about how he did it? But it just didn't seem natural to me.
Yeah, it didn't seem natural.
It didn't seem natural. All right, so that was my number 6. My number 5 is Curtis Martin because he was very consistent. He's the top 5 running of all time because he played for like 13 seasons
and that's hard to do as a running back to be effective for that long.
Yeah, and he played and he was just effective. That's just pretty much it. Like he ran the ball well, didn't get hurt, and stayed there and made the Hall of Fame. My number 4 is Marshall Faulk. Marshall Faulk was great. He did the Al Bundy thing, getting 4 touchdowns in the game. Yeah, he would just do it, like he was part of the greatest. It was a great show on turf, and you got that one Super Bowl, you got the MVP. He should have got 2 MVPs. I wouldn't give it to Kurt Warner that year, even though Kurt Warner played really well. Mm-hmm. I would give it to Marshall Faulk twice. All right, number 3 is LaDainian Tomlinson. I put him over Marshall Faulk for this reason alone, because Marshall Faulk never led the league in rushing. LaDainian Tomlinson did.
Okay.
That's the only reason I put LaDainian Tomlinson over Marshall Faulk. They're almost the same type of player.
Right.
But, Marshall Faulk was a better receiver than LaDainian Tomlinson, even though LaDainian Tomlinson was a great receiver in his own right.
Yeah, I have Faulk, Tomlinson, yellow Tomlinson, Faulk.
Yeah, and number 2 it saddens me to say Emmitt Smith. The reason I put him in number 2 and not number 1 is because he played with one of the best offensive line in the history of the game. But I can't take that away from him. He put up his numbers, and he played for 14 seasons. So he's the number 1 rusher of all time. So he was tough. He won 3 Super Bowls. He won the MVP. So there's no way I can deny what he was. Mm-hmm. And number 1, Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders ended Rod Woodson's career. Barry Sanders made a lot of people. He made a lot of highlights on people. And the way he was just tiny and didn't seem like he worked out, and just would take that ball and just make people just miss him. It was just ridiculous. And plus, he gets extra points because he was a virgin his entire career until he retired. So, yeah. So that makes him an Iron Man. Him and AC Green.
AC Green. Is AC Green going to be your top power forward of all time?
We'll see. We'll see that.
All right. Time out. Let's see if it's still rolling. Still rolling. All right. We're right at an hour too. All right. So
we'll wrap it up.
Yeah. Oh wait. Okay. All right. So that's basically gonna do it. But I do have one more thing for you now. I got a couple of trivia questions for you.
Okay.
All right. They're both gonna be football related since we did this top 10.
What the fuck is this?
The first one is Emmitt Smith is the all-time leading rusher in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Who's number 2?
Number 2. That's a trick question because that number, the people just change all the time. Jesus Christ. Number 2 is not Jim Brown. I know it for a fact it's not. It might be fucking Adrian Peterson. No, it's not. Let me see.
Just 10 more seconds.
It'll be Emmitt Smith or I don't know, Curtis Martin.
Wrong. It's Walter Payton still.
Oh, still Walter Payton?
Yep.
Okay.
Barry Sanders would have did it. Remember, he retired before Walter Payton.
He broke his record.
And nobody else has come close to them since. So.
Well, the top 3.
Maybe Adrian Peterson's close, but
yeah, the top 3 they're never going to go anywhere because
the running backs aren't going to last that long, and they're not going to get that many carries.
No,
even if they last long, they're gonna be running with somebody else. So. And one more, who was the last non-quarterback to win MVP?
Oh, Adrian Peterson.
Okay, I figured you would get that one. All right, so that's it. Check out the. You can email us. Nobody's emailed us yet, but email us at lemarandlj@gmail.com. That's LEMARANDLJ@gmail.com. Check out our Twitter and our Facebook page and all of that. It's all on our website. Our website's going to be posted on the description on our YouTube. And I'm also going to put it in the description of our podcast this time, too, because I don't remember it all by heart. So I guess that's it. Anything else you want to add?
Check out Textbook Gamer.
Yeah. I was going to promote my stuff. Yeah, check out Textbook Gamer. That's my other YouTube channel where it's about a little bit about games and a little bit about tech. So just check that out. And that's it.
And check out AMSR. It's gonna creep the shit out of you.
Yeah, we'll save that for another podcast. All right, y'all later.
Did it with that sound.